to a free African-American family in Maryland, Banneker emerged as a polymath whose contributions spanned astronomy, mathematics, and literature. Notwithstanding, his most enduring legacy may well be his pivotal role in the design of Washington, D.C., the very heart of the nation.
Good day and gratitude, family. This is Face the Nation early, and we're on Bolden Unchained. We are doing a different reading for this time of the day. Today, we are going to read about our Black heroes from A to Z. We're going to start with a video clip of our heroes, namely Benjamin Banneker. Let's get to it, family.
No one contributed more to the building of America than the Black man. By the works of their hands, labor, ingenuity, and suffering, the people of color made the Americas great. Although the American and world educational system does little in recognizing these contributions. However, in the annals of American history, few figures embody the spirit of ingenuity and resilience quite like Benjamin Banneker. Born in 1731 to a free African-American family in Maryland, Banneker emerged as a polymath whose contributions spanned astronomy, mathematics, and literature. Notwithstanding, his most enduring legacy.
What's your worst essay grade?
Probably like a 71.
Worst essay grade, probably like a 60%. Probably like a C. Have you tried using Grammarly?
Legacy may well be his pivotal role in the design of Washington, D.C., the very heart of the nation. As the young country sought to establish a capital that would reflect its democratic ideals, Banneker's remarkable intellect and vision would become instrumental in shaping the city's layout. Despite the racial prejudices of his time, he would not only challenge the status quo, but would also leave an indelible mark on the nation's capital. This exploration of Benjamin Banneker's life and work reveals not only the brilliance of a man often overlooked in the historical narrative, but also the profound impact of his contributions to the very foundations of American democracy. Join us as we delve into the life of this extraordinary individual and uncover the genius behind the design of Washington, D.C. But before we proceed, do not forget to support our efforts by hitting that like button before you. Share with your family and friends to keep spreading our eye-opening Black narrative, and kindly subscribe to stay tuned in for more informative stories ahead. Now, to the story of the genius behind the design of Washington, D.C. Benjamin Banneker was one of the first African Americans to gain notoriety for his work and study. He was born on November 9th, 1731 in Ellicott's Mills, Maryland, to Robert, a freed slave from Guinea, and Mary Banneker. Mary was the daughter of an English indentured servant named Molly Welsh and her freed slave, Banneker. Since both of his parents were free, Banneker escaped from the clutches of slavery, living on a 100-acre family farm with his parents and 3 sisters. Benjamin had grown up in a stable home where he was able to develop into a learned young man. His grandmother, Molly, taught young Benjamin how to read and to write, and he attended a Quaker school for a short while. Yet essentially he was self-educated and an avid reader who spent a lot of his time borrowing books. As a young scholar, Banneker showed great aptitude for mathematics and science. He would often study the stars, and at some point would develop a passion for astronomy. One of his early accomplishments was constructing an irrigation system for the family farm. After his father's death, Banneker ran his own farm for years, cultivating a business selling tobacco via crops. At the age of 21, Benjamin met a man named Joseph Levi, a traveling salesman, who showed him a pocket watch, something he had never seen before. He became so fascinated over the watch that Levi gave it to him. He took the watch home and spent days taking it apart and putting it back together to examine its components and how they worked. He drew a picture of it, made mathematical calculations for the parts, and worked on building a clock for 2 years. In 1753, the clock was completed. Banneker produced the first wooden clock ever built in the United States. It was made entirely of wood, and each gear was carved by hand. News of the clock created such a sensation that people came from all over to see it and the genius who had made it. As a result, Banneker was often asked for assistance in repairing watches, clocks, and sundials. The clock made by Benjamin Banneker kept perfect time, striking every hour for more than 40 years, until it was destroyed in a mysterious fire. Interestingly, the Banneker Inc. Watch and Clock Company would be named after the 18th century intellectual. This company pays homage to Benjamin Banneker by integrating luxury woods into every watch and clock design. It is one of the only minority-owned watch and clock companies in the world today, and the first company to produce timepieces with the Banneker name in over 200 years. Benjamin Banneker timepieces are original and unique, while remaining on the cutting edge of style and fashion. All of the products include information about Benjamin Banneker's historic accomplishments as a way of educating and informing. However, Banneker never stopped pushing himself to learn new things and new skills. He was on a never-ending quest for knowledge. During the Revolutionary War period, a family of Quaker brothers, the Ellicotts, moved close to Banneker's farm to build their mill. The two neighbors formed a friendship that introduced Benjamin to astronomy. One of the brothers, George Ellicott, was an amateur astronomer and lent Benjamin the necessary books and telescope to acquire proficiency in the science of astronomy. Banneker went on to accurately calculate the positions of the sun and moon. His aptitude in mathematics and knowledge of astronomy enabled him to predict the solar eclipse that took place on April 14, 1789. In 1792, Banneker would begin publishing an almanac that would be widely read and would become the main reference for farmers in the mid-Atlantic states. It offered weather data, recipes, medical remedies, poems, and anti-slavery essays. This almanac was the first scientific book written by a Black American, and it was published annually for more than a decade. However, Banneker's major reputation would stem from his service as a surveyor on the six-man team, which helped design the blueprints for Washington, D.C. Before then, Banneker's preoccupation with scientific matters in no way diminished his concern for the plight of Blacks. In August of 1791, Benjamin Banneker would send a draft of an almanac, which he was readying for publication, to Thomas Jefferson, the then Secretary of State. He felt compelled to include a personal note, which was a 12-page letter where Banneker refuted the statement that Blacks were inferior to whites. Banneker quoted the famous preamble to the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and said plainly that he was disappointed in the hypocrisy of Jefferson, a slave owner. These were some of his words.
But, sir, how pitiable is it to reflect that although you were so fully convinced of the benevolence of the Father of mankind and of his equal and impartial distribution of those rights and privileges which he had conferred upon them, that you should at the same time counteract his mercies in detaining by fraud and violence so numerous a part of my brethren under groaning captivity and cruel oppression, that you should at the same time be found guilty of that most criminal act which you professedly detested in others with respect to yourselves.
Jefferson's response 11 days later was cordial and complimentary, but also condescending and racist. Jefferson praised the almanac and informed Banneker that he was sending it along to the Marquis de Condorcet, a French philosopher, mathematician, and abolitionist. Jefferson would praise Banneker as a credit to the Black race, essentially telling him that he considered the almanac evidence that African Americans' inferiority was owed merely to the degraded condition of their existence both in Africa and America, and not to their innate inferiority, a paternalistic sentiment that was a frequent topic of debate among whites. Banneker was living proof that the strength of mind is in no way connected with the color of the skin. After Banneker's death, Jefferson expressed doubt that a Black man could have written the almanac. He continued to own enslaved workers despite decrying slavery in some of his writings until his own death came in 1826. Wielding knowledge like a sword, Benjamin Banneker was many things: inventor, author, scientist, anti-slavery proponent. And as a result, his legacy lives on to this day. Regarding Washington, D.C.'s design, Benjamin Banneker was already a practiced mathematician and astronomer when he was approached in 1791 by his friend, Andrew Ellicott, to survey the land staked out for the new United States Capitol. Banneker's principal role in surveying the new Capitol was to make astronomical observations for which the survey's starting point could be determined. He also used his calculations to establish the boundary points for the district. Banneker was well suited for this role, having already accurately predicted solar and lunar eclipses, sunrises, and sunsets. But his contributions to the creation of the nation's capital would grow beyond what anyone anticipated. When the United States officially adopted the Constitution in 1789, there was as much debate about the location and shape of the new federal capital as there was about the other affairs of the new nation. The argument over its location, whether it be Boston or Philadelphia or New York, was so vehement that some feared it would shatter the unity of the young republic before it got off the ground. Even before the location for a new federal capital called for in the Constitution was settled, Pierre Charles L'Enfant would write to George Washington with a request to be commissioned to design the federal city. He would be granted his wish when Congress would pass the Residence Act of 1790, which set the permanent site for the capital on the Potomac River. L'Enfant, who served under Washington during the Revolution and was a successful civil engineer after the war, would develop a grand.
Grow your business with subscriptions on Shopify and be like Better Booch.
We launched subscriptions in about December of 2021. I love it from the customer service aspect of it. I don't have to think about ordering every month or every week. It just...
Grand design for the capital. L'Enfant's plans were well received, but he proved to be extremely difficult to work with, arguing incessantly with the commissioners in charge of the capital project. He frequently stepped beyond his mandate in budgetary and design issues, and Washington begrudgingly relieved him in 1792. When L'Enfant left the project, he took all the designs with him, leaving the project in disarray. Unsure of how to proceed, Ellicott and the other planners feared that they might have to start from scratch. According to writer Gaius Chamberlain, Banneker surprised them when he asserted that he could reproduce the plans from memory and in 2 days, and did exactly as he had promised. However, using his meticulous memory, Benjamin Banneker was able to recreate the plans.
Wow.
His mathematical prowess filled the void, providing the precise calculations needed to translate L'Enfant's vision into reality. Therefore, Washington, D.C., with its grand avenues and buildings, was completed and stands today as a monument to Banneker's genius. A black man. Although there has been much controversy over the years about whether such an event actually happened. Some historians claim that many of the facts about Banneker's life were embellished or mythologized, leaving the fact that he was able to reimagine L'Enfant's plans in dispute. Others have theorized that it was Andrew Ellicott's brother Benjamin who aided in redrawing the plans from memory, theorizing that Andrew Ellicott's brother was confused with Banneker because they shared the same first name.
Wow.
In the final analysis, it cannot be denied that Banneker was a confirmed member of the team that designed the federal capital, soon known as Washington, D.C. In being a part of that team, Banneker, a free black man in a nation that was still practicing slavery, used his intellect and skill to disprove the theory that blacks were an inferior race. More so, Benjamin Banneker, who was never married nor a father, continued to conduct his scientific studies throughout his life. By 1797, sales of his almanac had declined and he discontinued publication. In the following years, he sold off much of his farm to the Ellicotts and others to make ends meet, continuing to live in his log cabin. However, on October 9th, 1806, after his usual morning walk, Banneker died in his sleep, just a month short of his 75th birthday. In accordance with his wishes, all the items that had been on loan from his neighbor, George Ellicott, were returned by Banneker's nephew. Also included was Banneker's astronomical journal, providing future historians one of the few records of his life known to exist. He was laid to rest at the family burial ground a few yards from his house on October 11th. During the services, mourners were startled to see his house caught on fire, quickly burning down. Nearly everything was destroyed, including his personal effects, furniture, and famously accurate wooden clock. The cause of the fire was never determined. However, Banneker's life was remembered in an obituary in the Federal Gazette of Philadelphia and has continued to be written about over the ensuing 2 centuries. He was also remembered with a number of schools bearing Banneker's name. These schools include Benjamin Banneker Academic High School in Washington, D.C., the Benjamin Banneker Academy for Community Development in Brooklyn, New York, and Benjamin Banneker High School in College Park, Georgia. Also, the U.S. Postal Service featured Banneker on a 15-cent stamp in 1980 as part of its Black Heritage series. Started in 1978 and continuing throughout 2017, The series was created to celebrate Black Americans and the vital role they have played in U.S. history. In closing, Benjamin Banneker's contributions to the design of Washington, D.C.
Not sorry.
used his intellect and skill to disprove the theory that Blacks were an inferior race. More so, Benjamin Banneker, who was never married nor a father, continued to conduct his scientific studies throughout his life. By 1797, sales of his almanac had declined and he discontinued publication. In the following years, he sold off much of his farm to the Ellicotts and others to make ends meet, continuing to live in his log cabin. However, on October 9th, 1806, after his usual morning walk, Banneker died in his sleep, just a month short of his 75th birthday. In accordance with his wishes, all the items that had been on loan from his neighbor, George Ellicott, were returned by Banneker's nephew. Also included was Banneker's astronomical journal, providing future historians one of the few records of his life known to exist. He was laid to rest at the family burial ground a few yards from his house on October 11th. During the services, mourners were startled to see his house caught on fire, quickly burning down. Nearly everything was destroyed, including his personal effects, furniture, and famously accurate wooden clock. The cause of the fire was never determined. However, Banneker's life was remembered in an obituary in the Federal Gazette of Philadelphia and has continued to be written about over the ensuing 2 centuries. He was also remembered with a number of schools bearing Banneker's name. These schools include Benjamin Banneker Academic High School in Washington, D.C., the Benjamin Banneker Academy for Community Development in Brooklyn, New York, and Benjamin Banneker High School in College Park, Georgia. Also, the U.S. Postal Service featured Banneker on a 15-cent stamp in 1980 as part of its Black Heritage series. Started in 1978 and continuing throughout 2017, the series was created to celebrate Black Americans and the vital role they have played in U.S. history. In closing, Benjamin Banneker's contributions to the design of Washington, D.C. extend far beyond his role as a surveyor. They embody the intersection of intellect, creativity, and resilience in the face of societal challenges. As a free Black man in the 18th century, Banneker defied the limitations imposed by his time, showcasing not only his mathematical prowess, but also his visionary understanding of urban planning. Also, Banneker's legacy serves as a powerful reminder that genius can emerge from unexpected places, and that the foundations of the United States Capitol were, in part, built on the brilliance of an individual who dared to dream of a more equitable society. This brings us to the end of yet another interesting video segment. Did you happen to learn a thing or two? Share your thoughts with us in the comment section below. We are always delighted to pick from them. Don't forget also to support our works by hitting that thumb button in front of you. Share with your family and friends to keep spreading our eye-opening Black narrative, and kindly subscribe to stay tuned always, whilst you also help in building the rising membership of this channel. Your support means a great deal to us. Thank you for watching.
Your future is at
No, I do not want that. Let me see here. Remove this. Okay, there we go. I should have started with A. However, I was watching the Benjamin Banneker when I decided to begin this reading, this daytime reading. Of course, you know, we read Red Summer, the summer of 1919, and the awakening of Black America. And we did finish it. We finished that book. And now at midnight with the ancestors, we're reading Racial Violence in Kentucky, 1865 to 1920. However, I decided during the daytime, and maybe we'll move it up for early morning or something, but we're going to read the Book of Black Heroes from A to Z. This book here is by Wade Hudson and Valerie Wilson Wesley. And for those who first time coming in, thank you so much. For returning watchers, we appreciate you coming back. But at Bolden Unchained, we are here to assist in the uncovering and the confrontations of the many agendas and the many plights and, you know, the attacks on Black America. I'm still working on my pitch. Yes, I'm still working on it too. And I implore the ancestors, I summon the ancestors to help me with the wording, to express what they want us to comprehend, what they need us to comprehend, to remember. Me. Yeah. So I'm reading to the world now. Yeah. Reading to my people. My people are my world. We are my world. First and final. And of course, those in between, you know, I wish you well. I mean, you no harm. However, we are here. Yeah, so let's get to this here. And this channel, my entire channel, is only for the awakening of Black America. You know, I will show from time to time, like the video from the author of Red Summer, Cameron McWhirter. I did show his video, you know, and his video was detailing the book. We will get outside of our main focus, but not often and not too long. Because my first and final concern is that we know who we are. We remember who we are and who we come from, because we have definitely forgot. So if you want to forget, you don't want to remember, then you probably need to leave before you even come. Yeah. All right. So let's get to it here. Book of Black Heroes from A to Z. That's a nice cover too. And I don't know who this is. His face looks familiar. I'm thinking is that Charles Drew? I don't know. But I know that's Rosa Parks, Muhammad Ali, Martin Luther King, and that there is Sojourner Truth. Or is that Harriet Tubman? See, we have our learning to do. We definitely have our learning to do. And I'm here for it. A hero, one noted for feats of courage or nobility of purpose, especially one who has risked or sacrificed his life. A person prominent in some event, field, period, or cause by reason of special achievements or contributions. The American Heritage Dictionary. And this here's just our content. Ooh, this book is nice. Has some nice illustrations. The Black Heroes. A. Ira Aldridge. And there's a photo. Can I? Let me see. Oh, face! There's a photo of, if you can see it. Yes. There's a photo of Ira. Ira Aldridge, 1805 to 1867. And he was born in New York City. The man with the magical voice. When Ira was a boy, very few Black children dreamed of becoming actors. Black people who lived in the South were still slaves. Those living in northern cities were free, but they had few opportunities to do what they wanted to do. But Ira was not discouraged. He had a strong, beautiful voice that would someday become famous throughout the world. When Ira was a young man, he joined a Black theater group in New York City. During those times, many white people believed that Black people should not be allowed to act in plays. Ira's theater was forced to close. This made Ira very angry. He didn't want to live in a country that would not allow him to develop his talent. He decided to leave the United States and live in Europe. For the next 40 years, Ira toured England and other parts of Europe. He performed in many plays and was praised and honored by many kings and princes. A portrayal of Othello in Shakespeare's play made him famous. He became one of the best-known actors of his day, but he never returned to the United States. And again, that's Ira Aldridge. Araaldridge. 1805 to 1867, he was born in New York City. And next we have Muhammad Ali, born in 1942 in Louisville, Kentucky. And that's a photo. You can see photo of Muhammad Ali. The greatest. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Muhammad Ali's trainer yelled to him. Muhammad hit his opponent with 3 punches and moved quickly away. You got him, champ. You got him. The trainer yelled again. Muhammad landed another punch that knocked out his rival. I'm the greatest, he declared. I'm the greatest. Many people agreed with him. He was born Cassius Clay, but the bold young fighter changed his name when he joined the Nation of Islam. Muhammad showed his winning style inside and outside the ring. Often he predicted the round in which he would win, and he was right most of the time. He became heavyweight champion of the world in 1964 when he defeated Sonny Liston, Liston. Muhammad refused to go into the army in 1967 during the Vietnam War. He believed war was wrong. Because of this, his boxing title was taken away from him. He was not allowed to box again for nearly 4 years. But Muhammad gained the respect of many people for standing up for his beliefs. In 1970, he returned to the ring. He defeated George Foreman in 1974 to regain the heavyweight title. He lost and then won the title again, becoming the first fighter to hold the crown 3 times. Muhammad retired in 1980. Muhammad Ali is respected around the world as a champion and a humanitarian. Wow, Muhammad Ali. Yeah. We will continue reading this here. And I'll try to find some videos before each read so that we can also watch the video and we can read at the same time. And we'll both learn. We'll all learn. And if you have any books on anything, any subject, it could be our heroes, our sheroes, the Civil War, after the war, teaching the children, whatever you have, feel free to bring it here. Yeah, let's just do us. Let's build us. That's it and that's all. That's my first and final concern is my people, the Black man, the Black woman, and the Black child. You know, God plus goddess equal godly. Peace and power to the people.